Okay, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
So my name is Jihai. Today I will provide you a presentation regarding the practice and the implementation of DevSecOps. Okay, so here is the content. Firstly, I will introduce myself. Next, I will talk about the DevSecOps, show more background about this DevSecOps. Next one, I will talk about the DevSecOps current status and also the challenge to implement this DevSecOps. The fourth one will be the DevSecOps toolings. And the last one, I will show you a case to show how to implement the DevSecOps in a bank and also how to establish the culture. Okay, here's me. Actually, I graduated from Imperial College London quite a long time ago as a PhD. My research was the mobile communications. So it's a mobile 4G. It's very old now, quite a long time ago. Now it's all 5G. So after I graduate and start to work in the bank, for example, like RBS, UBS, Barclays, and also HSBC. So I started to work on DevOps from 2012 in Barclays Bank, and then joined HSBC in 2016, and then transferred from London office to China office in 2018, and to lead the DevOps transformation there. In 2019, I joined Tencent and the senior DevOps architect, and so far I'm also still working on the DevOps. Okay. All right, so today we talk about the DevSecOps. I'm not quite sure, I think probably many people know DevOps because DevOps, I think it has been more than 10 years so far, but DevSecOps is still very new. In general, the DevSecOps is DevOps plus cybersecurity, right? So actually, this DevSecOps actually was created quite early in 2012 by Gartner. Originally, it's called like DevOps Sec. Yeah. And I did some research and tried to find why people change the name from DevOps Sec to DevSecOps. Finally, I found probably there are two main reasons probably. So one reason is the short name for DevOps Sec is DOS. Which is duplicate for DDoS. So DDoS is very famous, this attack, the networking attack. So that's a duplicate names. So another reason is for DevOps Sec. So if you see this position, so we do the Dev first, and then Ops, and then cybersecurity. This is a traditional way, for the software development. Yeah, so normally when you finish your development, before you go into the production, you will do some like cybersecurity assessment, cybersecurity scanning to make sure there's no vulnerabilities. So, because, the original term DevOps is like a traditional way to doing DevSecOps, doing the cybersecurity. So people believe, this is not good enough. It's not like innovation thing. So this is the reason to put security in the middle between Dev and Ops, which means, like this picture, which means the cybersecurity should cover the whole DevOps process. Yeah, should cover the whole DevOps process. All right, and also the DevSecOps. When we talk about the DevOps, it's mainly like left shift testing, left shift operations. And for DevSecOps, it's very similar. We left shift the cybersecurity, to the development area and also the testing area. Okay, so the people probably will ask why we need DevSecOps. Yeah, because it's a DevOps plus cybersecurity. Why we need DevSecOps? Okay, so normally, when people are doing the DevOps, they try to make the whole process faster and better quality. Yeah, this is this is the objective for DevOps. when your DevOps level become more mature, then people will feel, there's probably some bottleneck, to stop their fastest delivery. Yeah. So here we use one example, to show, this why we need DevSecOps. So you can see that the picture the three process on the right. The top one is we call the traditional development process. So here just one example. It's not the real. It's just one example. So you can see the first stage is the development for 3 weeks, which means from gathering the requirement, design, coding, testing. So when it finish, it be ready to be deployed to the production. It costs like 3 weeks. Yeah. And the second stage is like I mentioned before. Traditionally, before the product go to the production, the cybersecurity team or cybersecurity department will do some like cybersecurity scanning or cybersecurity assessment to make sure your product, there's no vulnerabilities in your product. Yeah. So this period, in this example, like cost 1 week. So the whole delivery, normally we call like delivery time. Yeah, the whole delivery time costs like 3 weeks plus 1 week is like 4 weeks. This is 4 weeks is the whole delivery time for traditional week. Yeah. Okay, so then we go to the second one. We call it DevOps process. So which means we try to introduce some DevOps methodology or technology. For example, we can introduce some tooling to automate the process. We can introduce like agile methodology to improve the team coordination. We can also probably rebuild the architecture into the microservice way. Yeah, by using different methods, we make the whole process more efficient. Then for the first stage, we reduce from 3 weeks to 1 week. Yeah, by doing the DevOps. Okay. However, the traditional DevOps, it doesn't consider the cybersecurity. So the second stage for the cybersecurity assessment, it still costs 1 week. Now you can see the bottleneck. It's easy to see the bottleneck right now. Okay. Yeah, because for the first stage, it's not easy to further reduce. And for the second stage, it's still 1 week. Okay. So let's go to the third one. So now for the DevSecOps process, so you can easily to see for the DevSecOps process, what it means. It try to further reduce the second stage, try to reduce the time caused by the cybersecurity assessment. Yeah, so this is probably the one of the final goal of DevSecOps. Okay, so I just give you this one example. This is a simple example to easily show you, what. So what's the benefit? Yeah, actually there are too many benefits. Now here probably I'm just trying to focus on 3 different benefits. The first one is we can deliver faster. I think this is easy. Like the example I showed last time. If we can further reduce the second stage for the cybersecurity assessment stage, then the whole delivery time will be reduced, which means we can deliver faster. Okay, that's easy. Okay. So the second benefit is to control the risk. What does this mean? So normally the development teams, they will rely on the cybersecurity team, to do this cybersecurity assessment, cybersecurity scanning. But if we do the DevSecOps, like I mentioned before, we will do the left shift the cybersecurity to the developers. So the developer will be able to control part of the risk, under their control. Yeah. Okay, the third benefit we call cost saving. What does this mean? So not like this we still use this example. Like in this example, like I mentioned before, normally the cybersecurity assessment will happen before go to before the development go to the production. Yeah. So if at this stage, if the cybersecurity guy will find more vulnerabilities, they need to return this to the developer to fix these vulnerabilities. Yeah. So once the developer fixes vulnerabilities, you have to go through the whole process again. Yeah, like I mentioned, like coding, build, testing. So you have to go through the whole process again, which results in the cost, additional cost. So if you can, by doing the DevSecOps, if we can find and fix the cybersecurity at the early stage, yeah, at the early stage, which means at the coding stage or maybe testing stage, then we don't have to go back to this process again. So this is the key thing for the DevSecOps. The purpose for left shift is that we try to find and fix the cybersecurity vulnerabilities earlier. Yeah. So finally, to make it faster, to saving the cost and also control the risk. Okay. Okay. So as the first part, we talk about some background about DevSecOps, like what is DevSecOps, why we need DevSecOps, and and what's the benefit. Okay. So the second part, I will show some current status for DevSecOps, and also the most important, the challenge to implement DevSecOps. So the current status from some DevSecOps community report. Okay, so the first one shows that the demand or interest for DevSecOps from different industry. So you can easily see almost half of the demand comes from technology and the financial industry. So in these two big area, they will have more interest or more demand for the DevSecOps. Okay, the second one is very interesting. Before when I try to promote DevOps, working on DevOps, people always ask me one question: what's the best ratio for developer and operations guy? And now, when I'm working on DevSecOps, people will ask me the similar questions: what's the best ratio for developer, operations, and also cybersecurity guy? But to be honest, I don't have the right answer, because this is really depend on your situation. Yeah, really depend on your scenario. But in the report, it gives this I think this is like kind of one reference or example to show this ratio. Like there's 100 developer and 10 operations guy and only one cybersecurity guy. Yeah, so you can see there's really very few people working on cybersecurity, although it is very important. Okay, this survey results is also quite interesting. It shows like many people believe security is important, but probably it's only half of people doing something, and another half they don't have enough time to do it. To be honest, in my opinion, in the real world, I do believe this number is bigger than this one. Yeah, because in my company, and I don't feel many people very focused on, very key on the cybersecurity stuff. So based on this, I think it's a very common problem. The cybersecurity is kind of like verbally important, but yeah, it's verbally important. People believe it's important. People talking is important, but they never do anything about it. Okay, so this is so this result shows something regarding the DevSecOps tooling or DevSecOps tools. So you can see there are different kind of tools currently is very popular. So like this container cybersecurity tools or open source cybersecurity tools or static application cybersecurity tools. So I will talk about these tools later in details. Okay, the challenge. Okay, so I think people, if people working on DevOps before, I will believe you will also feel you will also understand the challenge for DevSecOps because it's very similar. So the main reason is that I think the cybersecurity is too far away from the business. Yeah, similar to DevOps. I think DevOps is mainly about IT improvement, yeah, or IT enhancement. Cybersecurity, DevSecOps is similar. We try to make the make our company more safe, our product more safe. It's not very relevant to the business. Yeah, so this is the reason people don't make serious about this. And the challenge, mainly come from two different areas. From technical area, because the DevSecOps is very new. Yeah, I think it's become popular in recent 2 or 3 years. So there's not too many products on the market. So like the DevSecOps tools, but not too many products on the market. But for the product on the market, for these two tools or technologies, there's still some some weakness for these tools. Yeah, so I'm going to talk about this later. So this is the challenge for technical thing, and the most challenge for DevSecOps, in my opinion, is mainly come from the people. Yeah, similar to DevOps, it's mainly about the mindset stuff. For example, like developer, they normally don't believe cybersecurity is part of their job. They believe coding is my job, but not cybersecurity. We have the cybersecurity department. This is their job. Yeah, I think this is a very common mindset. Also, for some people, if they have this mindset, they believe, okay, when I'm doing the coding, I should be aware about the cybersecurity thing. They have this mindset. But later, they may find, they don't have enough knowledge regarding cybersecurity. For these vulnerabilities, they probably don't have knowledge to fix these vulnerabilities. This also happen, yeah. Because if you can coding, it doesn't mean you can do the cybersecurity thing, yeah. And the last one, I think the most important one, is not many senior management to support the DevSecOps. Yeah, similar to DevOps. If you run a DevOps from top to down, to promote DevOps from top to down, it will become more easy. Yeah, because more easy. And similar for DevSecOps, if there is no senior management to support, you to promote the DevSecOps, it's not easy to ask other people to do it. Yeah, because like I mentioned already, people don't believe this is their job. Yeah, people don't believe, and also people believe cybersecurity is too far away from the business delivery, and also there's a dedicated team to respond for it. It's not their job, right? But if you can convince your senior manager to support you to promote DevSecOps, it will become another story. Okay, so now I roughly talk about the challenge to implement the DevSecOps, and some of them when I try to run DevSecOps in HIBC before, we definitely to see this challenge, especially the challenge from the people. Yeah. Okay, so next part I will talk about the DevSecOps tools. So normally when we try to run the DevOps or DevSecOps, normally the first stage is to implement tooling. Yeah, because tools can help you to improve very quickly, especially on the automation side. Okay, for regarding the DevSecOps tools, like I mentioned before, it try to help the team to discover the vulnerabilities at early stage. Yeah, at early stage. And DevSecOps tools normally fall into the 4 different kind of category. The first one called the static application security testing tool. So this tool normally scans the source code. And second one called dynamic application cybersecurity testing tool. So this try to simulate the behavior of the hacker, yeah, to attack applications. The next one called interactive application security testing tool. So this one is try to similar to your monitoring, yeah. This one should normally be installed in your testing area, yeah, and try to gather the information when you run your application. And this is the first three different tools. They try to make sure the code or the product you produced, that's safe enough. There's no vulnerabilities. But then when you try to coding, sometimes you have to introduce some third-party library or third-party plugin or third-party package, for your product. Then how you can guarantee the third-party thing you introduce is safe? Yeah. So this is the job for the fourth tools called free open source security tools. Yeah. So these tools it try to respond to find the third-party package or third-party library, try to scanning these kind of things and tell you, whether or not they have the vulnerabilities. Okay, later let's talk about the tools in details. The first one is the static application security testing tools. Yeah. So this tool, like I mentioned already, it's normally scan your source code. Yeah, scan your source code. So based on some rules, yeah, it will help you to find vulnerabilities. So normally we call this kind of tool like white box tool. Yeah, white box tool. And for this kind of tool, they can show you the vulnerabilities in the very more detailed, and even can show you which line of your code have these vulnerabilities. And also for this kind of tools, because it's based on the coding level, so it will be easy to be accepted by developers. However, there's a big disadvantage for this tool. We call it the false positive ratio. Yeah, this tool has a very high false positive rates. Yeah, sometimes it's up to like 30 or 50%. Yeah. So if your result is not accurate enough, normally you have to invest additional resource to double check the results. Yeah. So this will result in additional cost. And also, if your result is not accurate enough, how you can trust them? Yeah, how you can trust them? So this is the big weakness for this kind of tool, and also will slow down the promotion for this kind of tools. So the next tool called dynamic application security testing tool. This tool we normally call black box. Yeah, it doesn't show doesn't scan the source code. It normally try to simulate the behavior of the hacker, and then try to attack your application. Yeah, try to attack your application to see any vulnerabilities. Okay, for this kind of tools, I think the hard thing for this kind of tools is because they try to simulate the behavior of the hacker. Then you need I think some cybersecurity knowledge, yeah, enough knowledge to be able to simulate this, to write the case, to simulate the hacker behavior. So it's a very challenge for developers to do this. Normally, this kind of case or this kind of case will be produced by the cybersecurity people, but not developer or tester. Yeah, so this is a challenge for this kind of tool to be promoted, to the development teams. Okay, the third one called interactive application security testing tools. Like I mentioned before, this tool is very similar to a monitoring tool. Yes, it's very similar to monitoring tool. It is normally install an agent in your application, but normally in your testing environment. So install agents there. So when you run your applications, when you run your testing in the testing environment, the agent will try to gather the information and then do some analysis to see whether or not there's a potential vulnerabilities. Yeah. Okay, so here you can see there's some popular products on the market. For the SaaS, there's like Checkmarx or Fortify, but it's very popular so far. And for the DAST and IAST, you can find the contrast security, and there's a one open source tool called OWASP Step. Yeah, so if you go to OWASP website, this is open source tool you can find over there. And for the FOSS tool, the popular one, you can see some like Sonatype IQ server or Xrim or dependency check. The dependency check is also open source tool. You can find it from OWASP website. Okay. Okay, in this slide, it show like we talk about this tool, 4 different kind of tool, and also this kind of product on the market. So normally, which area or which stage we normally use this tool, you can find from this slide. So like I said, for this kind of static application cybersecurity tool and the open source cybersecurity tool, normally it's used coding stage, yeah. And for the dynamic cybersecurity tool and the interactive cybersecurity tool, it's normally used at testing stage, yeah. In addition, like we talked about before, regarding the reason we call DevSecOps, normally in DevOps we try to automate the process. Similar in DevSecOps, we also need to automate the process. Regarding all these tools, the final goal is try to integrate them into the DevOps process and also automate it. Yeah, so we need to automate these tools. Okay, so before I talk about, I show some background about DevSecOps and show the challenge about DevSecOps, and then we also talk about the DevSecOps tools. Now I will give you one example, one case to show how we run the DevSecOps, how we implement DevSecOps. Actually, this case comes from my previous company, actually called HIBC. It's a bank. Yeah, in 2018, in August 2018, so we tried to kick off this DevSecOps program. Yeah, and then we start to run it in 4 parallel teams. Yeah, 4 parallel teams regarding DevSecOps. Okay. So the first part is we call it this implementation model, which show you what kind of work we need to do. Yeah. So the first part is about tooling, like I mentioned before. Normally the tool is the first step. So we try to introduce some tools and also need to integrate these tools into our CICD pipeline. So it try to automate the tools. Okay. And also, once we automate the tools will scan the code, will scan scan the applications, find the vulnerabilities, and finally to produce a report or dashboard for developer to see whether or not there's the vulnerabilities. Okay. So the key thing for this stage is we need to automate the tools, and also the tools will help us to find the vulnerabilities. The tool can't help you to fix vulnerabilities. It can only help you to find the vulnerabilities. Okay, so who fixes the vulnerabilities? The people. So then we go to the second stage. Yeah, we need people to fix these vulnerabilities, which discovered at the early stage. Yeah, so this is the reason we try to provide training to our people. So there's a different way, we provide training. So I will talk about this later in details. Okay, so like I mentioned, at the first stage, we try to introduce some tools to help us to find the vulnerabilities. And then we try to provide some training for our people to be able to fix the vulnerabilities. So by doing this 2 stages, so finally, as the 3rd stage, we try to produce some cybersecurity experts in the teams. So they are not real cybersecurity experts. So they are the people they work as a developer or they work as a tester, but they have enough knowledge about cybersecurity. So like I mentioned before, when the tools find the problem, find the vulnerabilities, so these guys, these cybersecurity experts, they should be able to fix the problem in the team. Okay. So the next one we call operating model, which show how people what different role and how people work together, to to implement this model. So normally when we run this program, we have 3 different kind of roles. One called the DevSecOps champion. It was my role. So this role try to connect the cybersecurity team and the application teams, try to make them work together, to make this happen, to make the whole model happen. Okay, and then for the cybersecurity teams, they try to provide help on tools, try to provide help on training, and also from consultancy. Yeah, and finally, for the application teams, by using the support from cybersecurity teams, by using the tools, by taking the training, so they try to implement this into their real work. Like I said, this kind of iterative. By introducing this in their real work, with the time, they get to use about the tools. They know how to fix the vulnerabilities. Then finally, we try to make the left shift to the teams. This takes time. Yeah. So in our case, as I remember, this take a few months for the application teams to get used about this tools, DevSecOps tools, and also get used about this mindset. Yeah. Okay, just to give you some case like how we integrate these tools into our CICD pipeline. For example, we try to introduce one tool called Checkmarx. So Checkmarx is a SAST tool, like I mentioned, for the tool to scan source code. So we try to integrate this into Jenkins, which is our CI tools. Yeah. So the first step, we try to install a plugin, this Jenkins Checkmarx plugin. Once we install the plugin, then you will be able to see this one section in your build, in your jobs. You will see a section regarding this Checkmarx. Then you can do some configurations. So there are two different methods you can do configurations. One is the traditional way. Yeah, that's a form, similar to the one on the top, on the left actually. In the form, you can you can do the configurations, like you can set up the Checkmarx server. You can also set up the source code path, set up the project name, something like that. Yeah, this is the traditional way. Another way is something you can use in the Jenkins tool. We normally call the pipeline code, similar to the one on the red top. So by doing the coding, you can do the configurations to integrate the Checkmarx into the Jenkins. And finally, once you finish your configuration in your pipeline, when you kick off the pipeline, and finally it gives you some result on dashboard. It's the one on the red button. Yeah, you can see the vulnerabilities into different categories, like high, medium, and lower vulnerabilities. So this is just one example to show you how we integrate the tools into our CI/CD pipeline to automate the process, and finally to show this result and dashboard to user. Okay, here are the tools, the DevSecOps tools we use in HIBC before. It's called like this Checkmarx. Yeah. So this tool I think is quite useful. For example, like on the left, it shows like in which line of your code has these vulnerabilities. Yeah. So it's very accurate to show the location of the problem. And also on the dashboard, it also classifies the vulnerabilities into 3 different categories, like high level vulnerabilities, medium level, and low level, something like that. Another tool we used before is called Sonatype Neuxs IQ server. So this is one open source tool. This is a tool to scan your open source vulnerabilities. Yeah. So similar to Checkmarx before, it also can be integrated into our Jenkins and to automate the process. Yeah. And also you can see it also tries to scan your application to find there's a potential vulnerabilities. for the third party thing, the third party library or third party package. Yeah. Okay. So before we talk about the tools, so like I mentioned at this slide, the first stage is introducing the tools and to integrate this in your CICD pipeline to automate the process. So we have done this. Okay, the next one is the training. So before we try to provide the training in different way, 3 different ways. The first one is there's some tutorial in the tools, for example, like Checkmarx. There's a tutorial in the tools. From this tutorial, you can see, for example, here that's one example. There's one media vulnerabilities. If you click on this question mark, it will give you some tutorial to show what's the risk to vulnerabilities and what's the reason, what causes these vulnerabilities, and finally give you some example how to fix these vulnerabilities. So the tutorial in the tools is one way we provide the training to the people. And another way is this online training course. So in HIBC before, I think we produced at least more than 50 different of this training course, and for different kind of roles, like for developers, for testers, for architects. Yeah. So people will take this online training course to improve their knowledge regarding cybersecurity. Okay, another method we use for training is we call this one platform, a training platform. So I think HIBC purchased this like 2 years ago. It's called Security Code Warrior. So this tool is this platform is quite interesting. It's not like this kind of online training course. Probably it's very boring. This platform show you some like kind of the real scenario or real story. So for example, in this story, it show like there's a hacker from Brazil, to attack some application in the UK, and the hacker will go through your code, because there's some potential vulnerabilities in your code. Yeah. So and at this slide, they will ask you to find these vulnerabilities in your code. So by using this kind of the real case or scenario, to help people to learn this cybersecurity knowledge. Okay, so like I mentioned before, here we try to use 3 different ways to provide training to the developer. So one is the tutorial in the tools. Secondly, we have some online training course. The third one is some online training platform. Yeah. Okay, so like I mentioned before, we introduce tools. We also provide training. But overall, many people still don't care about cybersecurity. Yeah, so because there's no culture about this cybersecurity thing across different teams. So this is the reason we think about we try to run some event, like there's like security coding event, try to help developer to be more aware, have more awareness about cybersecurity. So this is what we did before. We try to run this security coding in different offices, like India office, China office, or even later it's like London office. Just try to help people, because if you can run this event, they will attract developer, to attend this event, so they have more interest, and at the same time, you show them, this cybersecurity mindset. Okay. Okay. Finally, there's one thing we call the DevSecOps maturity model. What is useful? Do you still remember, before in my let's go to that slide. Let's go to this slide. Okay, this one. Okay, at this slide, I show you these 3 examples, to show you why we need DevSecOps. So the DevSecOps try to reduce, this time for cybersecurity assessment, like the one on the top bottom. Okay, so if we can reduce this time, but how we can make sure, we can reduce this time? Like we talked about before, we try to integrate tools to find the vulnerabilities at early stage for developer. We try to provide training for developer to have enough knowledge to fix these vulnerabilities. Yeah, but then after we're doing this, how we can reduce this cybersecurity assessment? Because this cybersecurity assessment is run by cybersecurity teams. We left shift, but how we can reduce this time? Okay, so this is the reason why we need this DevSecOps maturity model. What does this use for? Like I mentioned before, we try to produce this cybersecurity expert in the teams, yeah, and then we try to use this model to do some assessment to see the level for the cybersecurity team or even for the whole team. Yeah. So if you're the team or this cybersecurity expert spend more time on training, or they can use the tools very well to find the vulnerabilities, or if they can reduce the vulnerabilities very quickly. Yeah. So we can use different parameters to do the assessment for the team and also the cybersecurity expert, yeah, to see how strong they are on DevSecOps. So on this page, I only show some very simple example, like how many hours of training you have, something like that. But actually, in the real documentation, I don't remember we have more than 30 pages documentations. Yeah, we have much more, many parameters to do the assessment for the teams to see how strong they are on DevSecOps. If they are very strong, like we talked before, we can reduce the cybersecurity assessment, reduce that period. So if you're not good enough, we probably will not reduce the time. Yeah. So it's really depends on how strong you are on the DevSecOps by using the tooling, by taking the training. Yeah. So if you are strong enough, then we can further reduce the time. Then you can deliver your product faster. Yeah. So this is how we can use this model, maturity model to make sure you are strong enough then you can reduce the time to make sure you can deliver faster. So yeah, I'm not quite sure. Maybe I didn't talk this very clearly. So if you have any questions, you just let me know. I can explain more in details. Okay, here's my sharing today regarding the DevSecOps. So we talk about, I show you some background about DevSecOps, what is DevSecOps, why we need DevSecOps, and then I talk about the current status and also the challenge. Later on, I talk about the DevSecOps tools in different category, and finally I use the real case we ran HIBC before, to show you how we implement the DevSecOps in our company. So hopefully, this sharing will help you to understand about DevSecOps and also help you to have more idea about how to implement this in your company to help you, not only deliver faster and good quality, and also be safe enough. Okay, thank you everyone. This is my presentation. Thank you.